I remember one time there was this record that Little Kim wanted. This is what she's like recording her first record, and I called myself trying to negotiate this thing by myself, right?
Wow.
And it was a horrible negotiation. And when Puff got wind of it, because it wasn't like he was like in the next room, you know what I'm saying? He was like, yo, what the fuck are you doing? He's like, yo, listen, man. He said, you have to just focus on the quality of your music. He's like, people pay, and they will pay whatever you want them to pay if you have hits.
Arkatech Beatz.
Yo, yo, yo. We got a special guest on our show today. Oh, man. I'm very excited about this one. We got a legendary producer in the building.
Legendary.
If you don't know who this guy is, man, you need to do your research. I mean, this guy's worked with some of the greats. I'm talking about Big. I'm talking about Faith, Mace, Big Pun, Little Kim, Loon, LL Cool J, Beyonce, like the Locks. I mean, the list is just keeps going, man. One of the legendary bad boy producers, Hitmen. Welcome, Younglord in the building.
What's up?
Thank you for coming to our podcast. You know, we just trying to, you know, not just show love, but at the same time give you your flowers. You know, let the next generation know, you know, who you are, and just give them some little history lessons, and at the same time give them some tips on, you know, what's going on and how to survive in this game, because this game is always moving and changing, and if you're not equipped properly, if you don't have a good solid foundation, it'll rock you to sleep. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So Younglord, first thing I want to know is, like, how did you even get into the music business?
Oh man, it was destiny, man. It's so funny, man. I went to this Catholic school in the Bronx called Cardinal Spellman. And before that, I went to a school called Mount St. Michael's, which was all boys. So when I went to Spellman, I met this girl there who at 14 was just killing them. She was just a pretty girl. So I'm walking to the train trying to get her phone number, right? And I walked there, and as I was coming back, this little older brother, he's like, yo, was that your girlfriend, right? So I'm lying. I'm like, yeah. You know, he's like, yo, man, you got great taste. He was like, are you into music? Because I happened to have some records with me, because I was, you know, on my DJ stuff at the time.
So you were DJing?
And, yeah, I was DJing. And so I'm like, you know, yeah. And he's like, well, I have a studio around the corner. And he gave me his card. He said, you're welcome to come by whenever you want. And
wow.
This guy was a legitimate player in the music business. His name was Greg Troutman. His partner, his name was Tony Dofat, who was one of the legendary producers as well. And this guy seriously, like, didn't know me from nothing, but just up the street to how pretty she was, he let me, like, come in the studio and just watch. And I was lucky enough to meet Jesse West at the studio. He was like the main producer working there. Mm-hmm. And because Tony would kick me out of the rooms, you know, he didn't know me. He just kicked me out. Right. But Jess, you know, he would let me, like I wasn't there, which was really dope. I got to watch him, and I got to see him create records for the Lost Boys, for Mary J. Blige, for Big, for, like, he was in the mix doing a lot of things. And then I got the bug from there, and I was lucky enough, like I said, to meet Jesse West, where he would answer my questions, you know, because just coming in, you know, you got a million questions, and, you know, he was like, yo, you know, you should get this machine, or this, that. He tell me the difference. Like all of those little nagging questions that a kid would ask you, he had the patience to like listen to me and answer, and that started everything. You know,
that's dope because basically it's like, you know, it goes to show the importance of having almost like a mentor in this game. And so that's deep, man. Like I think that's something that definitely we need more of in this business, like real mentors, and not just OGs, you know, preying on the new generation. So that's dope. That's dope, man. Like, so how did it transition into becoming a hitman?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask too. Like, how did you wind up? Because I know Jesse Weston was connected in some way over to the other side. So
right.
How did you get pulled in on that side?
I always heard about Puff, but I thought he was like an R&B dude because when they talk about him, they talk about Mary J. Blige. In my mind, that's what he was associated with. And like Jess would always talk about Big, and he actually invited me to a session, but I never made it. You know, I'm still 14. Like going to the city is like a big thing. You know, so I would hear about him, but I didn't put two and two together. So like in that time, I wasn't like necessarily making beats. So at that studio, I met this kid named Top Quality, who was a rapper. And he got signed to PMD RCA, right? And me and him, we became friends. He's like, yo, you know, check this out. Because I wanted to get not an MPC, a SP1200. That was the machine.
Right.
It was 2 G. So he's like, yo, you know, if you could get a G, I'll give you the other G for the machine. You give me some beats, whatever, right? So
that's a good investment.
Yeah, that's a good thing. But still, at 14, you might as well set 5 Gs. It doesn't make a difference. Like
what year was this?
92.
92.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what I did was, luckily, you know, I always asked people. You know, I didn't know everything, and I never act like I did. So I went and I was like, you know, the kids I was eating lunch with at school, I was like, I need to get this money. Like, how can I do it? And this kid I was sitting with, he was like, yo, you know, we got 2,000 kids that go to this school. He said, how can you get $1 from each kid? Right? That doesn't change the question for me, you know? So I still don't know, but I'm asking people, yo, what can I do to get $1 from each kid? And this girl, she was like, well, why don't you sell a raffles or something like that?
Yo, is it the same girl that the pretty girl? Because
nah.
It seemed like the girls is giving you some game.
Yo, bro, listen.
Opportunities.
Yo, listen. In my story, there's a lot of girls. Straight up, like the Most High definitely knew how to guide me. You know what I'm saying? But she said raffle tickets. I went, printed up 2,000 raffle tickets, and being out with the Catholic school, you know, most of my life I was used to selling stuff, you know, like candies and stuff like that. Right. So I was on the hustle, selling, you know, raffle tickets to everybody I could, and I was able to get the G, right? Mm-hmm. And at that point, I remember giving Top Quality a call, like, yo, I got it, you know, like, and he was like, word. He's like, I'm like, so you're gonna get the other G, you know, to get the machine? He was like, I said that, you know what I'm saying?
Oh wow.
Yo, he called amnesia on me, you know what I'm saying? Wow. But at that point, what was so cool, my parents, they wasn't messing with me with the raffle ticket. They thought I was straight scamming people, but they saw how serious I was, so they went and helped me with the other money and got the machine. And after that, you know, I was on and running, making beats, and then fast forward to like the beginning of my junior year. Flavor Your Ear was the big record out. You know, this is 94, right? So yeah, Flavor Your Ear was the big record out, and I was sitting at this table at school with a bunch of girls, a bunch of cute girls, and they were talking about Puff Daddy and Craig Mack, and a light bulb went off in my head, like ding. I was like, because I always heard the name, but I was like, you know what?
So you was running around inside and outside the camp, and you didn't necessarily put it together. Put
it together. I didn't put it together at all. And matter of fact, it was crazy because looking back, I would meet people and they're like, "Oh, I should, introduce you to this or that." But it never hit me. I just, I really thought he was like an R&B dude up until Flavor Your Ear. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But so I went in school. I remember I had like $1. I went, got quarters, called information, got the number to the bad boy office. And then I called the office. I was like, yo, I'm 16. I'm the dopest producer in the world. Like, who can I talk to? And they had just opened up their offices. So the girl, her name is Glenna, she didn't know, she wasn't really supposed to give out any information. But she was like, I think Harv handles that. And so I'm like, is he there? She's like, nah. So I kept calling. I had 1 quarter left. And I called my house. I called my brother, whose actually the name is Harvey. And I was like, yo, call this guy and set up a meeting for me. And by the time I got home from school, he spoke to Harv and like convinced him to meet with me. And
wow.
That was that was crazy. So like 2 days later, I went down to the office, straight after school, had my uniform on and everything.
Wow.
And I played the music. And, I didn't get any like good response, so I was thinking, I probably won't hear from them again. But like the next day, Harv called and was like, that Puff wanted to meet me. And I went and met him. And he was like, yo, man, I don't like your music at all. He's like, yo, straight up, man. Like, he was very, very raw, which I appreciate because it saves time. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. He was like, yo, you're idolizing the wrong people. Now, when I listened to that music that I gave them, I thanked them so much because it's like everything had like 10 horns in it. You know what I'm saying? I was like the son of Pete Rock or something, you know what I'm saying? But Diddy was so confident in himself that he felt that if I just hung around, that I would get it. And he was like, look, man, I'm going to sign you up. We're going to put you on the job training and you'll figure it out. And
wow.
He did, man. And what was really dope about that experience at the beginning was he really had me doing all of the stuff that they didn't want to do, which was like supervised mixes, doing drops on records, like finding little clips of Biggie's voice that might be a hook for another song. Like I was the one listening and finding those things. Like it was like some real Karate Kid shit,
wow.
And to them, because I could tell they were probably taking the shit as a joke. You know what I'm saying? Like, we just gotta have him do this shit. You know what I'm saying? But it really built me holistically into what I was getting myself into. And it was a great experience. So I got to really touch a lot of great records, even if I didn't produce them. I was involved in a lot of process. Yeah. So
what was your first major placement?
My first major placement was actually for a group called The Power of Three. They were signed to Epic. They were that was one of Chucky Thompson's groups. Okay. And I did a record for them. Then my second was like this group called Subway that was signed to Michael Vivian. Yeah. I did a record for them. And then Big Pun, like all of this stuff before I did any Bad Boy record. You know what I'm saying? Like it was it was a lot. It was a lot before. They had me doing a lot before I started like producing records over there, But it was a magical experience, man.
How did you connect with Pun? Because that was our first placement, being on Capital Punishment. Mm-hmm. So how did you actually were able to connect with Pun to get, what was the record you did? You Ain't a Killer?
You Ain't a Killer was the first record we did. Yeah. That's actually a great story because what I would love for people to get out of this story is you don't know and you always got to keep yourself open. So I went to like this Gavin convention, and it was in Atlanta. This is probably like 95, 90. Yeah, it's probably like 95. And I ended up meeting E40 and his whole clique. And through that, like meeting them, I met this kid named Mac Moore, who was a artist, and he was signed to Relativity. And so we connected, and when he came to New York, we got together, and we went to like a lunch. Relativity had like a lunch with him, and then they had Fat Joe there because he was signed to Relativity.
Right, I remember that.
So I met Fat Joe, and he was like, we exchanged information. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna give you a call, but I didn't necessarily hear from him. It wasn't until like a few months later. This is 96 now. I was one of the guys who was like producing a lot with the Locks. Mm-hmm. Like before they started necessarily working on like stuff that made the album, we were in the studio just banging out stuff. And we had a session at Unique Studios and Times Square, and Fat Joe happened to be in the building, and the Locks, the buzz was crazy at the beginning. Yeah. So he was like, damn, all right, this kid's fucking with them. He's like, I gotta see what's going on. Yeah. He said, yo, I'm working on a project that might be something that you can work on. And he brought Pun to my house, and we ended up just connecting from there, So that was really cool, man.
So what you played the beat for him, and he
the beat actually was like, I gave him other beats first that he was writing to, and that record actually wasn't supposed to be for Pun.
That always happens.
Yeah. I was working on a soundtrack and Ghostface. It was going to be Ghostface and Mac Mall, actually. That's why You Ain't a Killer has all those leads in there, because I was trying to combine the West Coast and the East Coast together. You know what I'm saying? And then the soundtrack, it ended up like not working out. Like they want to pay us something like that. So I played the beat for Pun. He's like, yo, I need that. You gotta have that. And we recorded that, and he did this thing, man.
That record right there is like one of the lead records that helped to start to establish him. Yeah, man, that record was strong. You Ain't a Killer. And then you went on to doing some more records for him as well.
Yeah, we did Caribbean Connection on that album.
With Wyclef, right?
With Wyclef. Yeah, we did we actually did this record called Local Bananas that never made.
I remember that record.
Yeah.
Because I was there at that time I was A&R Loud Records, so I do remember that record. I believe he was singing Local Bananas.
Yeah, they couldn't clear it or something. It was like a clearance issue or something like that.
Yeah.
And then we did It's So Hard.
It's So Hard
for this
big record. Don't just skip by it.
Yeah, don't stop by that. It's a big record because, especially after he passed away, it was a big record.
Big record, man.
I was really disappointed in that that he passed away.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. That was
it was tough.
That was
rough
rough
for us.
Man.
It was rough for us as well.
Yeah. That was a rough time, we did, the dope thing is in that era, there were producers that you kind of like, sometimes you didn't always meet the other producers, but there was just such a strong respect for the producers. So it was like a brotherhood. So even if I didn't meet, I know the name, and I just like, okay, respect that. He coming what he gonna come with, and you always have to kind of just make sure that whatever as a producer you're coming with has the same type of quality. You know what I'm saying? And that's something that is kind of missing in today's going on. But we'll get into that. So what made you like leave the Hitmen or kind of move off from that situation?
You know what? It was a thing of just the time, where, and then you want to see what you can do on your own. And I found that like, I love producing and I love I love being in it, but I think I felt like a pull towards trying to do the executive thing, and I wanted to try and like started signing other producers and connecting them with people. So I like started a publishing company, and I was doing that too. I was still producing, but what happened with Bad Boy, it just like I wanted just to do it without them, and just see if I can really, stand on my own, because I felt like it was a safety net,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I wanted to do that, and times just changed, just it was just different. So,
but at that age, you were pretty young. So, did you feel confident that you knew what was going on business wise? Because you're dealing with a machine like Bad Boy, and this industry is known for the sharks. So, as a young, because you grew up in it, did you feel that you knew enough about the business aspect, while you were there? Because did you feel like, okay, maybe I'm getting taken advantage of because I'm young and didn't have?
No. That's one thing that I can say. A lot of people, they have these horror stories for Bad Boy, and I don't have that. And I've never had that. I felt protected at Bad Boy, and maybe because I came in so young, but I felt like, like they cared, what I'm saying? I felt like there was some care, and I think that's what made me go even more, because I felt like I can come back if I needed to, what I'm saying? I felt, and it wasn't anything bad, and it actually, it's funny. I had this big meeting with Puff where I told him what I wanted to do. I was like, look, man, I said, look, I have this vision. And I told him that every successful like mogul has been linked from one another from New York, right? So I was like, first there was Russell, then from Russell came Andre, then from Andre came you. And I was like, look, the next person is gonna come from you. And I was like, if you didn't know, I'm that dude, So I was like, look, if you dissolve my publishing contract, I will give you a piece of this new company where you can profit off the next cycle. Whereas, Russell didn't profit off of Andre, and Andre didn't profit off of Puffy, right? So you get the chance to do this. And he listened to me, and he's like, yo, man, I really believe you're going to do everything you said you're going to do. He said, when you do it, you're going to have a writer that's going to try and get out of your contract. And you're going to tell him that he has to stay in your contract because you had to stay in mine.
Wow.
Yo, what can I say? What can I say after that, right? Like,
wow.
I'm saying? Like, what can I say?
This episode of the Arkatech Beatz Music Business Podcast is brought to you by our own ebooks, the Songwriter's Guide to Song Registration, the Musician's Guide to Music Copyrights, the Musician's Guide to Music Publishing, and the Ultimate Guide to Forming Your Own Music LLC. All of these books are really essential for artists, producers, musicians to really learn how to navigate the music industry and how to really make a living off of your art. So just make sure you go pick those up. Those are available at arkatechbeatz.com. We're going to put a link in the description, and thank you guys for supporting.
Yo, but he was like, look, you serious about this? So he's like, yo, why don't you come in and work in Janice Combs in the publishing department to really learn what you're trying to do. You know what I'm saying? And so I took him up on his offer, and I did that. So even though I wasn't necessarily like producing heavy all the time, I was involved in like signing other guys. So like Brian Leslie is a guy that I brought over there.
Oh,
and who I mean, that guy is just a genius.
Yeah, really,
Oof. Yeah, so got him over there. That was like 2003. There's this other brother, Keith Harris, who's like will.i.am's right-hand producer. So what I would do is like I would go to like Berkeley College of Music, and I met this guy who was set up for me to like talk over there. So when I started this, all these guys are all actually older than me. You know what I'm saying? But I'm in awe of them because they got the musical skills, like, I mean, perfect pitch and all this crazy stuff. So what I would do is kind of connect them with teams that were already moving. And that was a strategy that worked really good and was able to like make a lot of bread that way. So I got into that. And then after that, I got into licensing. And that was actually like not even on purpose either, but I ended up falling into that, doing music for movies and TV shows. And what happened is I ended up building like I guess like a pipeline. But once you build a pipeline, you got to keep it, flowing.
Yeah.
And so I had to recruit other people to keep it flowing. So I became more like a game manager than really focusing on my creativity. And that's been my role until maybe about 2 years ago, man. 2 years ago, I woke up one day and I told my wife, I was like, yo, I'm gonna start making beats again. She's like, what does that mean?
Yeah, what equipment are you using now?
Oh man, bro, I'm using FL Studio, man.
Okay.
So when I first like started my re-entry, I got the MPC. I had the with the 2.5, so I could use the pads or whatever. Right. And then I got the of course Pro Tools. I know Pro Tools really well.
Yeah.
And then a bunch of my folks was like, yo, you gotta try Ableton. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna just try it and see what I feel. And I think what I found is that like I was leaning towards the MPC at first, but once I really learned FL and the possibilities that it could do, like it's just crazy. And then I went on Reddit and I found this kid. He's like this young kid, like 20, 21 or something. He's charging me $10 an hour to teach me how to use FL Studio.
Wow.
So it was like a job, man, from 9 to 10 every morning before I go to the gym. Me and him, he's showing me some stuff. And once I really got into it, it allowed me to be so creative, man. Like it was just, then who was it? Somebody told me that Lord Finesse knew of like this, of the stem separation, before it was like big, it was like a thing, like a secret or something, right? So I hit Finesse. I was like, yo, a little birdie told me that, a program that can separate it. And he sent me the info and man, started getting into that. And what I found actually is like, man, I love creating. I love just for the sake of creating, just to feel good. And I feel like my music is on a whole nother level right now. Like it's just, and one of the things that I was really like insecure about in my career were my drums and my mixes. Even though I would have like some of the best mixers working with me, just inside, what I'm saying? I'm like, dang, these drums are fat, my drums are thin, all these things I hear in my head, right? And I was able to really get them to sound the way I heard them in my head, to really be able to mix the stuff. And it's in addition to like making beats, I also like started going to these websites that have like the stems of the old records. I started doing my own mixes to songs I love and all that stuff, man. Man, I'm having a ball right now, man.
Could you imagine having the stem separator when we first started out? Like time stretch, everything stays in key. Like these guys don't realize how easy they got it, and what we used to have to go through just to get a sample to stay on tempo. Like it was just it's crazy right now. But what I wanted to ask you, like, I know you said that when you were a bad boy, you felt like you were protected, and a lot of people have a lot of horror stories. And in retrospect, is there anything that you did business wise that you say you probably could have done better, versus where things currently are now? Because I know a lot of us look at the deals that we may have made and we say, man, if I had just done this a little bit different, I probably would have did a little bit better. And just trying to give, the new folks some games, some things that they could be looking out for, especially when they're starting out.
My first deal with Bad Boy, it was a management and a publishing deal, right? The publishing deal was horrible. You know what I'm saying? It was like it's for $15,000, 10 full songs, right? Horrible. I'd be in that contract forever, right? But first thing, when I turned 18, they redid the deal. So it became a little bit better, right? But during that time, right, so Puff, I would learn stuff from him, not like from him as like him teaching me, like do this, do that, but just by dealing with him to understand how to deal with him, And when before I signed, he was like, yeah, we're going to start you off at $10,000 a track. We're going to have you doing this, that, I'm telling my mother, like, yo, don't worry, about a year, you don't have to work no more. You know what I'm saying? Because as soon as I got inside the contract, it didn't go like that. You know what I'm saying? The first record, I'm trying to get paid off $10,000. He's like, nigga, sell some records. You know what I'm saying? Which he was essentially saying, get some leverage. You know what I'm saying? Right? So then I'm like, okay, sell some records. And then, I remember one time there was this record that Little Kim wanted. This is what she's like recording her first record. And I called myself trying to negotiate this thing by myself, right? Wow. And it was a horrible negotiation. And when Puff got wind of it, because it wasn't like, he was like in the next room, you know what I'm saying? He was like, yo, what the fuck are you doing? He's like, yo, listen, man. He said, you have to just focus on the quality of your music. He's like, people pay, and they will pay whatever you want them to pay if you have hits. You know what I'm saying? So he's like, that's all you got to do. Don't worry about it. He's like, so, hey, I listened. And once I started getting good records, I used that shit to him and everybody. Like, like, yo, we got some hits. Like, you got to pay. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And, so, and also what I learned from over there is that, listen, it's not going to start off great, but with success comes renegotiation, and that publishing deal that I, told you guys about, after, maybe 3-4 years, it was remixed to be, 20 times that, you know what I'm saying? So it's all about getting the work in so you can get the leverage. And, right now when you're starting your career, you need to build that leverage. And, you might have to, sign some things, but you got to understand why you're signing it and, your plans on what to do. And you got to read, I was a reader. So I read my contracts, you know what I'm saying? I knew exactly, like, I wasn't even worried about those 10 songs because in the contract it said, hey, I had to release these 10 songs that has through a label like this and do da-da-da. So I plotted in my mind, all right, cool. I'm going to do something to get out of that, And with my second contract, I actually did something to get out of it. Like that, I did an album called the Red Book Masters, and it was through a company called Roadrunner, and it was I didn't think nobody was going to hear about it, and people heard about it, which wasn't that cool because I just put like random stuff on there. I did like 5 years before that, and random people on it just so I can fulfill my requirements to finish that deal, you know. So read, understand what you get into, and understand why, you know. Like, it didn't matter. That was a price of entry into some historical shit that is still giving me not even a little, but lots of income today.
Wow.
You know, and I'm you know, so if I would have stopped something earlier, it probably wouldn't happen like that, you know.
Wow.
So that's the jewel to the folks, man. Like, kind of eyes wide open, kind of going in, knowing what you're trying to get into and what your plan is to work through that situation. If it's a bad situation, and if you said, okay, this is my opportunity to get in and improve my situation, just take that risk and bet on yourself. Basically, that's basically what you did in that situation.
Yeah, and be honest with yourself about the situations you're in. Like, so a lot of times people out here, you know, they talk about Puffball, you know, he ain't taking care of us, or he didn't do this, or he didn't do that for certain people or whatever. And I can understand how people may feel that way, but you understand something that's not his job. He's not our father. You know, he is, even if he was our father, after a certain amount of years, you grow up and you become an adult. You got to handle your stuff. You know, now I can only talk for me, but he put me in a position to win, to change my life. You know what I'm saying? I'm from the Bronx, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, it could have went anyway. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
He put me in a position to see success up close, to see what it takes. I learned lessons there that I apply in anything I do. You know, like certain habits, how I work, all this stuff. And it wasn't even just him. It was, you know, D-Dot. It was Nasheem. It was Chucky Thompson, like Stevie J, seeing all of those guys, their work habits, what worked, what didn't work. You know, like, shoot, you know, Stevie J saved me a lot from, you know, girl troubles, because I got to see him go through some things. You know what I'm saying? Close up front, you know. So it's you know, I'm so thankful for the whole experience, and you know, even it is, you know, I won. You know, I won that one. You know what I'm saying? That card game. You know, yeah.
So what is it? So currently, like, you know how the music business has been changing over the years. You know, what is your current take on not just, I mean, we'll get into the music as far as the creativity part, but as far as the music business, you know, now we in the era of streaming, and, you know, the percentage you're getting out of streaming, and, you know, these things are happening and negotiated without the producer or the artist and the labels that's basically part owners of these streaming services in the background. Like, what is your whole take on this whole streaming?
Well, I think it's the new distribution. It's the same thing, you know, like as far as with the record stores. It actually gives us an opportunity to make more money. But I think the music industry as a whole is just like America. And what I mean by that is, like, you know, the economy of it has changed to where the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, and they squeezing out the middle class. There's no middle class. Like, I give you, for example, let's take, you know, Pun's album. You know, I made a lot of money, you know, from the album. Of course, I feel like my records were hot, but I feel like nobody made me a ton of money, because he had the hit record that, you know, set everybody off. But because we were all on the same CD, we were all able to enjoy the fruits of him and Pun as an artist, you know. But now it's like, you know, his joint streaming 250 million and mine's 30 million. It's different checks, you know. So
Yeah.
it's different, you know. So yeah, it's just a different economy. You got to have the hit now. But if you have the hit, whether you're artist, producer, writer, you'll make more money than everybody made in history.
One thing that we try to tell our listeners and followers is that if you're a producer, you have to market yourself as an artist. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, you, even in the contracts, like, try to make sure that even in these contracts, you're considered an artist, because certain doors actually open up for you in contracts when you're considered an artist. When you're a producer, they kind of give you this work for hire kind of deal, or they give you these type of deals where, okay, you're a producer, okay, let's just give you standard paperwork, and you don't have any real leverage per se. But when you're considered maybe even a featured artist now there are certain doors that open up. Now there's certain things that you can get as far as percentages, and just basically, you know, the whole type of contract is different, you know. So, you know, moving forward, you really have to be creative with how you put yourself, where you position yourself, you know, because if you just stick to just being a producer, it's just not good enough,
right?
You know,
right? Yeah, you have to be in it 1,000%, you know. But it's worth it. It's still worth it, you know, because if you hit, you hit.
And you just need one hit. And you just need one.
Just need one. And this time now will go around the world. You know what I'm saying? It'll go around the world.
Right.
But if you do not get that hit, you will get nothing. You won't be able to lean on nobody like I did. You know what I'm saying? It's just what it is. You know what I'm saying?
What about if you have a string of marginal records, like building catalog? Because that's another avenue we've been talking about as well. You know, just building catalog. And if you have, you know, a bunch of songs, let's say you have 100 songs or 100 beats, you know, and they're all streaming at a certain percent, you know, I think you can, you know, I've seen people make a pretty decent living, you know, and also, you know, there's another way of getting income now. Now people are doing a lot of licensing beats online, leasing, licensing. What is your take on that market?
Yeah, man, they making money, you know. You know, you have to fully commit yourself to the marketing, you know, for that, for that, and the licensing. You know, the licensing, I know a lot more than the leasing stuff like that. But it's the thing that is a little different than the major placements, which I always tell people, you still go for the major placements, because there's going to be a time when you're not going to be working or wanting to work or have the time to push that stuff, you know. And like, I just give you an example. So I know we're going to get into this later, but I have a company that we help audit producer royalties and stuff like that. And one of the, we're working with Kenny Gamble's catalog, right? Mm-hmm. Produced many hits from the 70s. Now those album cuts are making him bread, but it's those singles that make the whole boat rise. You know what I'm saying? It's those joints. So, and they will never stop. The hits will never stop. Whereas, like, you know, if we can go back in time or go to online and listen to a radio station from 94, you know, we can kind of get a vibe on what the hip hop would be. But a lot of those songs, we probably wouldn't remember them until we heard them. Like, oh man, I remember that. But we wouldn't hear them again except the hits, you know. And you know, you want to lease, you want to, you know, license, you want to do that stuff because it makes money. But what I tell producers is to build a team. to build a strong team with you, and don't be shy about making sure that they get paid. And when you build a strong team, you have a guy who's handling the licensing, you have a guy who's handling the leases, because you need to focus on getting those major label placements, because that's what's going to feed your family 20 years from now. You know, so it's yes, do it and make that bread, but you shouldn't be the point person for that. You know, you should have somebody on your team that is, and you know, if they don't know, build them, have them learn. There's a lot of learning stuff out there, you know, and really make sure the income's coming in, because that's what's going to keep the lights on. But keep your eyes on finding and working on that next artist that's going to, you know, blow. Just like, you know, we were able to work with Pun, and then he blew it, and that created something. I was able to work with Locks on a Mace that turned into something that was crazy.
Right.
So it's those things that they need to focus on, you know, as far as young producers are any age, you know, not necessarily young, but just producers, period. You know, you need to have your business straight, but you need to delegate.
I think that's great advice in terms of like trying to build a team. And we spend a lot of time on the platform telling young artists to learn the business, try to get the right people to help you in the right places, get a mentor. Like there's a lot of things that, you know, people can get access to now that you couldn't get access to back then. Mm-hmm. Right? You know, like you're literally a DM away from getting access to, you know, people depending on how you approach it. You know, so, you know, in this the way that the business is moving now, and, you know, I know you talked a lot about, you know, the way streaming is working and so forth and so on. What do you see as maybe like some of the cons of where the industry is in terms of music quality?
In terms of quality, I don't see any cons. I think that, the reason why I say I don't see any cons is because I think that it's always been this way. Whereas, like, you know, there's something that works, a lot of people follow it. So something else works, a lot of people follow it. I think that's what it's been. And then also up and coming producers, you know, we hear something that inspires us. We you know, maybe try and go down that road, you know, because it inspires us, whatever. And I think that's cool. I think that as far as the only thing I have to say about today's music is that it's very dark. It's very the vibe of it is very,
what is it, low vibration, like
it's very killing, you know, murder, negative, you know. But I don't even think it's like, because some beats I hear them and I understand why these kids is rapping about, you know, taking this, because the beats are like, that's the energy they're giving. If I could change one thing, I would change that. You know, I think one thing that we had when we were coming up, and maybe it changed when we were starting to really produce, but like, remember there was a bunch of different characters, man. Everybody had their own lane. You know, we had so many different characters. It was like the WWF or something like that, you know, because everybody was somebody different and they stood for something, whatever it would be. But you can tell like what it was, and it was different than the other person. Now it's a little bit more, you know, similar, because everybody's speaking from their reality, and all of our realities are pretty damn close. You know what I'm saying?
So what do you think? But what do you think is the, you know, me and Jug, we have this conversation all the time, you know, and we try to find out like, what is the root cause of this? Because New York doesn't have an identity anymore per se. Like I remember when we travel to LA, we hear some West Coast music. We get that vibe, and we enjoy that vibe. Yeah. When you go down south, you hear your trap music, you get that vibe. Okay, this is what it is over here. You come back to New York, you get your New York boom bap vibe. But it seems now, anywhere you go, you hear the same sound, and you can't differentiate where this artist is from.
Yeah, I think it's because of the radio and the A&Rs being in New York, but being tasked with getting stuff everywhere else. So when they, I think it just. That's all I can think of. Like I don't like the radio chose what they play, and
they choose what's popular. Yeah, and then everybody runs behind it. I was also me and Chuck have this conversation all the time, and another aspect of it is, there's a lot of these beat packs that's flying around the internet. A lot of people trading sounds. So that also can be contributing to why some of the music be sounding the same, and nobody's really bringing anything new to the table. At one time you'll know, okay, this is Havoc. Oh, this is RZA. This is Eric Sermon. Right. And this is Dr. Dre. And now it's like, I don't know who.
Yeah, it's all
that person sounds like that person sounds like that person. It's the same,
Yeah.
And for someone like for me, where I like to listen to things and try and like top that, in this era. I remember me and Jug would listen to Be Allowed and listen to beat tapes from No ID.
Mm.
And we'll go back to the lab like, yo, we gotta tighten that shit up. Let's do this. And we come back and be like, yeah. And then you go back and listen to the next producer and you be like, ooh, and run back. It feels like that's not going on anymore. Like that type of sharpening each other is not going on. Like, what do you feel about that?
That's one thing that is a big difference too. Like I feel like with our time, we tried to have records that nobody else had. We tried to have sounds nobody else had. We tried to be unique. But now it's like they try and copy and mimic, which is understandable. Like when you're starting, you want to do that, but it's what works right now, and I can't even call it. But that's why when I was looking to like start producing again, I was like, I'm gonna just do what comes out. Like I can't because I trap music. I can't do it authentically. That's not my energy.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna do it what feels right, which right now has been like. Actually a lot of R&B records and stuff like that. And I just do it because it feels good. But I think that a lot of people are, because you go on YouTube and they say, hey, how to make a beat like this? You know what I'm saying? It has 1 million views. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the thing, to be able to make other people's beats and then, send them loops and stuff like that. That's crazy to me.
Yeah, we get stuff like it's crazy. Like I'll open up my email and have 30 new loops. I'm just like, yo, where's this coming from? Like, this is crazy. Like, you just giving this stuff away. Like, this is. I remember we wouldn't dare do that. Like, we'd be in a record store. Like you can't see which vinyl I'm taking. Or if somebody walks into the same record store you are, you'd be like, oh, what's up? What you doing here? And you'd be like, oh, nah, I'm. What you got? Nothing. We used to hide because we were so prideful on making sure that we were original with the content that we were putting out. You know what I'm saying? So, I definitely missed that type of friendly competition, I would say. And I think it was better for the culture.
Yeah. But, I think it will change. I think one thing that's cool about music and about people is we go through different cycles and try things out and see. So I think that it will change. I think it will go back to, just doing it, because another thing is like people are doing it for the money now. And when we started, when I started, I mean, I thought there would be money. I didn't know it was going to be money like this. You know what I'm saying? It was still growing. So it wasn't like $5,000 a track was like a big thing. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. It was, you're taking it. And then now it's just so much people like, trying to get the money. And that's why they want to be with the best artists. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. You got to bust through these doors somehow. But I think that's what kind of leads them to kind of try and do the same thing, or try and mimic the person to send them loops that sound like them so they can use it and get it to Drake. Because that one Drake placement will probably be a life-changing event, So it works, I guess it's been working for some folks, but I'm looking forward to when producers are given the ability to communicate and direct the artist like we used to, and can kind of, do full projects instead of this, like, they just assemble all these different, they just get tracks in, a lot of these producers don't even meet the artists anymore. Yeah. It's like no vibing, no camaraderie, no community, you know what I'm saying? Like there was, and I hope that the young guys doing it now, I hope they get the opportunity to experience some of what we did with that, because that was really cool,
If you had like three production tips, for upcoming new producers, 3 gems for them, like what would they be? Think. I'll give you a second.
Production tips.
Or it could just be music business tips,
for independent artists
as a whole.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I think the music business tips that I would give for the producers out there, I would say, your job as a producer has evolved to be an A&R, as well. And so you have to identify the next and get with the next. If you want to change your position, you have to find the next before they pop, because it's too late. If you get a hit on Drake, I mean, you'll get some money, but it doesn't mean that much as if that first person, that first team that hit with Drake, you know what I'm saying? So you want to be a part of that. So you have to start looking for it. You have to seek it out. The second thing, let's see. Okay. The second thing for producers, don't try and sell tracks, sell vision. You need to come up with a reason these people need to rhyme on your track. I'll give you an example with this. Like years ago, I wanted to work with LL like crazy. He was recording the 10 album. And, I'm like, dang, I was able to get a meeting with him through Eric Nix. And I prepared for it. And I'm like, he hears tracks from everybody, you know what I'm saying? So I purchased his books, you know what I'm saying? I don't know what I'm looking for. He had these 2 books, one about like working out and one about his life. I read the books, and at the end of the books, I realized that one, I need to start getting in the gym, which I did. 2, I realized that his grandmother was like the most important person to him, you know what I'm saying? And I went through his catalog. He never did a song about his grandmother. So I called this girl up. I had to write a hook to it real quick. She killed it. I was like, all right, you're not even going to I'm not even going to record it. Like, bring it to the studio. And I got with him and I told him, I was like, yeah, man, I just joined Bally's, blah, blah, blah. To get him laughing, whatever. And then I said, hey, I got this idea. I sold the vision like he needed to do this song for his grandmother. And then I played the track, had the girl sing the hook, and he said, cut this man his check. He didn't say how much, he do anything, because he purchased the vision of it.
Wow.
You know? So
it's crazy.
You sell vision. It's important to sell vision. Let me see what else.
Yeah, that bro, that's a jewel, bro. Like that's a like so many artists, so many producers don't get that opportunity now to sell the vision.
Well,
you know what I mean?
This, I guess that bring the tip 3. You know, you must meet these artists in person. You have to build relationships with them. You know, so you're gonna have to invest some money. You got to be in a room. You know, one of the tips I give to everybody is like, you know, a lot of these artists, especially rappers, you know, when they're hanging out, like you can like go onto like Wire Image and see where they hang out at, where they're in this particular city, right? So what I would do if I was trying to get to Drake, right, I would, you know, type up Drake. I'm in New York or something. All right, when Drake's in New York, who's taking his picture, right? You'll probably see somebody like Johnny Nunez or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. I would find Johnny Nunez and I would pay him to let me hang out with him next time Drake is in town.
Wow.
That'll put you in a room. You know what I'm saying? I don't care what it costs. Pay him. You get in a room. You have 30 seconds. You better have a reason to keep the conversation going. You know what I'm saying? But you'll be able to meet him. You'll be able to talk to his peoples. You gotta have pitch to really sell yourself. And you do that, you know, you'll get a real shot.
So basically networking, man. Networking.
Yeah, networking. And don't be scared to reach out. You know, I think one of my superpowers in this has been my lack of fear with reaching out to people, you know, like reaching out to Bad Boy, reaching out to you guys, I reach out and, you know, hey, there's no wrong answer, you know, hey, you know, usually, you know, I try and get along with everybody. And if I don't, you know, we will at some point. I'm not worried about it. So you got to take that energy and go meet you some people and come up with like prepare for it. I'll give you another quick story. When Jay-Z was doing the Black album, I wanted to be on the Black album. So I called hip hop and I'm like, yo, you know, I want to get with Jay-Z. He's like, yeah, send me some beats. Like I ain't get with Jay-Z, you know, but I need to get with him. You know what I'm saying? I need to get with him. So I start thinking on how I'm gonna get with him, you know. So I start doing some research, and research is just looking for what you don't even know you're looking for. So now it's easy. You can go through YouTube. You can, you know, you have so many different things. Back then, you know, I'm looking at videos and albums, and then an idea comes to me, Younglord, right? So I had never met Younglord before, but I heard his name, and I figured that he probably knew who I was, right? So I called information, got the number of the baseline. I speak to Younglord. He came on the phone. A little surprised, but he was on the phone. So I said, yo, man, yeah, I'm a big fan of your mixes. And I want help to, you know, get my drums better, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, can I get a few minutes with you so you can give me some tips? I really appreciate it. And he was like, yeah, it's no problem, man. But he's like, I'm working on Jay right now. So come to the studio before 2 or after 10, right? Mm-hmm. He gave me Jay-Z's whole schedule. You know what I'm saying? 2 to 10, right? So I was like, all right, cool. I'm going to come there, right? So I came there like 1:45, right? So I was playing beats like on time. Jay walks through the door, right? So he walks through the door, and I met him before. So, you know, he says what's up, stuff. And I said, look, man, I said, I have a daughter, you're her favorite artist. You know, she finally realized what I do. She asked me, she said, Daddy, did you produce Jay-Z? I said, man, I had to look at her and say no, man. I said, you gotta help me change that so I could, you know, look good in front of my daughter or whatever, right? He did exactly what you did. He started laughing, you know what I'm saying, right? Broke him down, right? So he's like, oh man, he said, yo, I wish you would have, you know, came through last week. He's like, I'm recording the last song today, whatever. But he was like, yo, what you got? So that ended up opening. He had me working with the Young Guns and Corey Guns. So I still was able to make some bread, but I didn't get a Jay-Z placement. But
you got something.
But what's crazy about that story is that I didn't have any daughter at the time. I had any kids. You know what I'm saying?
My God.
I needed something to be able to. I needed something to connect him with me outside of just the beat.
Okay.
Like I needed something to personalize me, because that's what I think's missing too. A lot of I had a personal relationship with Pun. You know what I'm saying? I had a personal relationship with Mace, with the Locks. So it's like that allowed me, it allowed me to get records placed. You know, that LL Cool J joint, I ended up recording 3 songs with him, and I also did a Gatorade commercial with him. You know what I'm saying?
Oh wow!
Like all from that one story. You know, so listen, this, you know, for all the producers out there, like this, when I tell you to research your target, stuff like that, it's worth it. You know what I'm saying? Because remember, we're playing in, you know, this royalty game that's going to bring us money, you know, 10, 20 years down the line. So take some time out and strategize. Like, all right, if you meet, you know, artist A, you know, A Boogie with the hoodie, you can't just be there like, I got a beat tape, because everybody got a beat tape. Everybody's trying to, like, something got to separate you. And whatever, you have something that can separate you. And if you don't have it, create something. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's worth it. You know, that daughter, you know, that I created, I ended up eventually having some daughters, you know what I'm saying? But that allowed me to get him to smile, to get him to stop what he was doing and talk to me, Richard Younglord. You know what I'm saying?
Right. That's deep.
So that, you know, it just created something different. And that's what you need to do. So you need to A&R their stuff beforehand, where they need to go, why they need to go there, be able to answer that, right? That's one. Then 2, you need to get to them. You need to get in front of them. You need to somehow figure that out. Then number 3,
sell that vision. Yeah.
Be ready to sell that vision.
Sell that vision, baby.
And I'm telling you, it's worth the investment. It's worth the time. It's because I'm telling you, man, listen, you know, I'm blessed. I had a great career, but my superpower was not production. You know, I had a few singles, you know, I'm blessed, but, you know, like I said before, most of the time, all these other brothers is making me a lot of great money. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't have any singles on Mace, that Nash, D-Dot. They gave me a lot of money, but I was able to get those things happening because I created those relationships, you know? Because even inside of Bad Boy, it wasn't like Puff was like, all right, you rhyme on this. Nah, you gotta politic and get them to buy in as well. I mean, they ultimately rapping on it, you know?
Tell us about this, what you're doing now in this company that you have.
With the auditing, yeah.
Yeah, tell us
about royalty auditing. And give them the information to where they can find it, and, you know,
sure.
let folks know what it is.
But there's a lot of producers that's in a certain boat right now. So just explain to them what's going on and what you got moving and how they can contact you.
Yeah. So right now, I have a company, my boy Kevin Thompson, called Residual Track, and what we do is we help producers recover their royalties and audit them. We like to make sure that, you know, we're getting everything that we're supposed to get. And this was pretty much started from our experiences trying to get my own royalties and the different hurdles they threw at me. And I'm like, yo, what do you mean the project's unrecouped and it sold 4 million records? Like, what are you talking about? You know? So we wanted to get in there and started to see what was going on. And it became like a passion to me because I realized that like it was, you know, I'm just trying to get what's owed to me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I'm like, all right. I was always a little scared of audits and stuff like that because, you know, we hear about it in the contract. It's like you have a right to do it, but you hear that they're expensive. You hear that they may not find anything or whatever the case is. And so what I did is I started learning the skill myself to do it, you know, just for myself. And then once I started doing it for myself and finding different things, you know, when you find some bread, they try and make you settle. And then that settlement is like a non-disclosure type thing where you can't tell other people what was going on. You know what I'm saying? So what I was like, nah, you know what I'm saying? Because most of the time, you know, like you said, when we had the producer community, you know, that we come from, I'm friends with a lot of guys who worked on some same albums. You know what I'm saying? Especially as far as with the Hitmen, you know, I still keep in contact with most of them. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, next guy, you know, I'm like, yo, you know, check this, check. And then after a while, we're like, yo, you know what? This is taking a lot of time. We need to do this as a business, and that's what we came up with, Residual track, and it's fun, man. It's fun finding money for people. You know, it really is. And it's a good feeling. And also to, you know, make money and with music, you know, because that's my love. So it keeps me close to music. And with licensing, it's like that's what we were doing beforehand. It's really intensive, and you get a brief today, you gotta have it tomorrow, and it's like always putting out fires or starting fires, you know. But this is more fulfilling, you know. And
so let's be clear. These labels will hide your money. And talking to producers, artists, these major labels, even if you're under contract, they will hide the money from you and act like they don't owe you. You know, all of those feelings of, damn, I didn't get paid any royalties, I didn't get paid this, I didn't get paid that. These record labels are doing that. They are hiding money, and you will not get it unless you make a claim for it.
Yeah, and it's a systematic thing, and it's not even like a thing that's unique to hip hop music. It's something like, with the production, you know, I started by getting a mentor, you know what I'm saying? So when I started this same thing, I was getting a mentor, somebody who has done this, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And what he kind of told me from his situations is like, yo, you know, Berry Gordy was doing this to Stevie Wonder, and that was like his son, you know what I'm saying? But it was the way it is, like Catch Me If You Can. And what they do is you catch them, they'll you know, he'll settle with them, you know? So it's like, it's, you know, it's like, let's say in this particular story, let's say, well, I'm just gonna make up some numbers. If they owe Stevie Wonder $10 million, you know, they'll settle for $7 million, right? You say, damn, $7 million is a lot of money, but the label just saved $3 million. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But you're supposed to get that whole 10.
Right. And if they
this is what you're owed.
Yeah, and this is what if they didn't do an audit, if they didn't look for this, then it would never been mentioned at all.
And these labels have been doing this forever.
So I would say this to my young G's out there, you know, do this work and understand you're doing this for you. You're doing this for your family. You know, music is a beautiful thing where we get to profit off of something we do once, you know, possibly for our entire life, and then our kids can profit off of it for another 50 years or 75 years or whatever. Like, that's a beautiful thing. So you look at it like that, but you gotta, the same time you take to create it, you gotta make sure you protect it and that you make sure that you're getting paid what you should be getting paid. Because listen, the thing that I was thinking in my mind when I'm going through this process for myself is that this is not even this. They try to take my kids' money. You know what I'm saying? They try to take my children's money. And when you look at it like that, my chest gets up a little. I get a little bit more amped because I'm never gonna let you affect them. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So with that battery behind my back, I'm tearing everything up, and we going to war. Like,
how to get in contact with you, because this is very important information. Your company goes in and gets this handled.
So hey, you go to the residualtrack.com, or you can hit me up on Instagram or something like that.
What's the Instagram? Give it to the people.
It's I think it's Rich Younglord. Yep, Rich Younglord. And just hit me up. And even if y'all want to strategize on your ideas on how to get to artists and stuff like that, I'm down to do that. And also, if you I did this like online course with my boy Sound Oracle that he's selling it through his page. It's like on the actual economics of production and how to raise money and build your team, fund your team, and all that stuff. It's called the Producer's Manual, and you can check that out at soundoracle.net. But yeah, man, just holler and let's make some history together.
That's dope. That's dope.
That's definitely what it is, man. Man, folks, this is Arkatech Beatz, man, Music Business Podcast, man. Make sure that you're following us at Arkatech Beatz. Everything Arkatech Beatz. We'd like to thank Rich Younglord.
Thanks for having me.
You dropped some super duper jewels, man. And I think what we want to try to do with this platform is, like you said, is kind of build back that producer coalition. Mm-hmm. That's missing in music, because it would help to get everything back on track. And then now that we have this type of platform to share information, it's like now we're in a situation where we can't be really taken advantage of. Mm-hmm. It's because now you got your experiences, we got our experiences. Everybody, you was at with Bad Boy, we was over here at Loud, and this guy's over there at Def Jam. So when you kind of putting everybody together, it creates a really, really, really strong situation that we can really move things to the next level and make sure that these guys that are coming up under us are, getting the right type of information and, making the right decisions.
Well, I'm here for that. Thanks for having me on, and everybody, I see y'all in the next one.
Before we go, man, like, I just wanted to say thank you, Younglord, not just for this interview, but your contribution to hip hop. I don't think that we say that enough to a lot of our OG legend producers for what they put down in this game. So thank you for your contribution. And this is a platform that we want to highlight the producers that, not only the ones we came up with, but the ones that we feel that have contributed to this hip hop culture and is doing the necessary things to continue moving it forward and giving it something for the next generation. So again, thank you.
Thank you.
Bronx, stand up, man. I remember when Mike was at Loud and he was bringing the first Pun stuff through, and it was that first vinyl, You Ain't a Killer, and they was talking about Rich Younglord, because they was like, yeah, he went to Spelman, because I had the people that went to Spelman, and they was like, yeah, this guy, he signed the fuck, and we hadn't got our placement yet. We hadn't placed Capital Punishment yet, and I was just like, it can happen. So it's like, I like to give you your flowers on that, man. Like, real talk. Like, inspiring people, making people know that they can get it done, that you're coming from the same place that they coming from. Yeah. Like, it's really important, man. Like, for real, especially for our community.
Yeah. That pun album was very special for a lot of us, man.
Yeah, man.
Like that for us, like he said, it was our first placement. and it was my first A&R credit. You know, and you know, like a lot of people don't know that I was on the I was on the Pack and the Max skit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mike, get out of here. I'm
the kid that goes, "Thanks, Pun."
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah. So you know that album was very important for a lot of us, man, and it bonded a lot of us producers together. And then when the next album came out, those same, for the most part, the same producers, same core kind of ran back and gelled together to make a cohesive album, which is something that's missing in today's. But you know, thank you for Mr. Killer Mike for creating an album that, you know, has story and is put together. So shout out to Killer Mike and his Grammys. But yeah, you know, again, you know, thank you, and you know, we'll connect again. And for the producers that are watching, you know, I hope we've said something that inspired you. You got something from this, from Jules, something you could take with you that you could apply to your own situation.
Peace, everybody.
Peace.
Arkatech